Go. All.
Violations of Indian constitutional rights in the context of the autobiography of a sex worker.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to say something about that paper. The issue is that I have limited time, so I will come to the flesh of the paper. First of all, I'm going to read the abstract. So, away from the home and after the death of her husband, Nalini Jamila, I wrote a paper on the title Violations of Indian Constitutional Rights in the context of the autobiography of a sex worker. The autobiography of a sex worker is an autobiography written by a sex worker from Canada. And she, in the present time, she is in her 60s and she also wrote her second part of the autobiography. In this paper, what I did, this is the paper related to my after graduation. I had covered the autobiographical element and also the memoirs and its related context in this paper. What I did, I had contextualized this paper in the context of law and literature and also the human rights violations. In this paper, I actually worked on the violations of women's rights from the perspective of articles and acts mentioned in the Indian Constitution. So, the main crux of the paper is that I have briefed out that whatsoever the rights, whether it's the rights related to the sex workers or the rights related to the domestic violence, whatsoever presents in the autobiography. Okay, the abstract of the paper is away from home after the death of her first husband Nalini Jamila, sex worker started sex work to support her children. That bold step taken by the Jamila changed her life completely. She gave service to the majority of people from every department, including policemen, politicians, doctors, and others. Until 2021, the Constitution of India did not favor sex work as a profession because of the prevalence of constitutional morality. The thing is that in my paper, in my after dissertation, I have addressed the history of Devdasis and then I came back to the profession of sex worker. It's a way back started during the time of Britishers. Despite that, we have famous red light areas in some of the major cities of India, failure of laws, negligence of acts, and ignorance in the implementations of articles are prevalent in India. That is why the condition of sex worker is very pathetic in Indian society. They do not have proper shelter, clothes, food to survive. They do not have talents to earn money for their survival. Several factors are responsible for prostitution in India and worldwide. These are discrimination, financial burden, exploitation at the workplace, immorality, greed, sex mania, that we know as nymphomania, etc. Based on Indian constitutional law, the researcher will critically and actually critically analyzed and textually interpret the autobiography of a sex worker. This is just a sum of abstract of the paper. Here in this article, I also mentioned about how the translator of the autobiography, and then her name is J. Devika. J. Devika is the translator of this autobiography from Malayali language to the English one. And what is the major intention of Nalini Jamila to write this autobiography? In the translated forward, the autobiography of the sex worker Jamila expresses a successful autobiography was a way of establishing herself as a public person. That we know that in India we have many women writers. They actually wrote their autobiography because of one reason or maybe because of multiple reasons. But in this case, since a sex worker, she definitely wrote her autobiography in order to not just question her violations of right in the context of Indian society, but also to contextualize her rights in the society and how she is different from common women and how her rights are not being mentioned in the Indian Constitution till the 2021. So the last few things that I mentioned in this paper is the terminologies. There are few terminologies related to sex in which we generally get confounded, and these are sex work, sexual exploitation, and the sex racket. In this context, I also mentioned how the opinions of liberal feminists are different from the opinions of radical feminists. How radical feminists, they look at the situation of sex worker as the violations of not just their rights but also the violations of women's body, and how the liberal families, they are not in the support of sex workers. So there are two opinions situated by two different sects of feminist writers, whether it's a Judith Butler or Kate Miller or any other writer, whosoever are there from the radical perspective or from the liberal perspective. These are the thing, and other thing I mentioned that how there are 8 famous red light areas in India, but apart from that, how many other states they don't have the red light areas, and what are those conditions and the circumstances of sex worker over there, in which area we don't have the red light areas. Okay, and in this paper I also mentioned about the violations of article, whether it's article 19, and then also the violations of article 38, article 20 I mentioned in detail, and one more thing, how in Indian society we celebrate in general 3rd March as the Indian Sex Worker Day, and how it started way back in Kolkata during the early decades of 20th century from Sonagachi, one of the famous red light areas of India. So that's it. These are the things related. And in conclusion, I also mentioned some of the articles, like Article 39, providing adequate means of livelihood for all citizens, and it's been violated again and again in this autobiography. Article 41, the state should provide the right to work, to education, to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disablement within the limits of economic capacity. This article has also been repeatedly violated in this autobiography. Article 43 and Article 46. These two articles state that the state should ensure a living wage, proper conditions for sex workers with full enjoyment of leisure and social and cultural activity. And last but not the least, I end this article with a statement that Article 46, the state should work for the economic and educational upliftment of caste, schedule, and other weaker sections of the society, and this weaker section also comprises women as one of the second sex and also the other genders of our society, and that comprises one of the section is zero sex work. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to present my paper, and thank you for the vision. Thank you.
Anybody? Yes?
I am Dr. Suraj Kumar, Assistant Professor at Central University of South Bay, India. Your paper was really interesting, and I think it's a very nice topic. But actually, I have some suggestions. I don't know whether you have incorporated these things or not. I have some points like the concept of Devadasi and sex worker. They are different. All right. Even the concept of Devadasi in, let's say, in Banaras region, and concept of Devadasi in South India is different. All right. So please look at those nuances. Another is your paper also falls into the interdisciplinary nature because it falls into the law and literature. There's a writer called James White. He is someone who established this discipline. And there's a book called, I don't know, please see it. It must be said, perhaps legal imagination or the legal imagination. Somewhere 1970s it came. So look at the aspect also. So how, to what extent you can merge the, the literary aspect and the legal aspect. Because there's a huge conflict between the, law and literature. At the same time, there are some similarities. So these are the something you also look at the, framework and methodology. So how you look at it, how you approach it. So these are a few suggestions. Please jot down. It is going to be a nice paper. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the question. The thing is that this is just an article, and I have limited time. I just read the important.
That's why I asked, because I don't know.
Yeah,
because you are given very less time.
Yeah, I
so
did.
These were some of my doubts.
Yeah. So I have covered
just I wanted to add on that.
Yeah, that's
it was not a
I
question.
just want to add something. I have covered the history of the Devdasi, then I shifted toward the prostitution, how it started in India. Then I gave a framework of the sex work. So these three sections I have covered in the historical background, from Devdasi to the prostitutions in India during the times of Britishers to the sex worker situation to call girls in the present time, contemporary. I have covered everything in one section. In one section.
Just my,
yeah, suggestion. The text is that I'm going to focus for the next research article, and in also the history and methodology section, research and research method, I have already mentioned how it comes under a genre of law and literature, but under that also it comes under the women rights in particular. So thank you so much for the questions and also for the suggestion. I'm going to take care of it.
Thank you, Preeti. It was bold written. And because usually girls, they just move away from
and she has boldly presented it. So I think she deserves well credited.
Please suggest.
Actually, these were the things, you should have just, in your research, you must have just concentrated on only
Yes.
one particular area.
Yes, yes.
So we would like you, like after you finished your
Actually, I didn't know because I'm working on PhD. I'm about to submit the PhD thesis in February.
Okay, so after that, I just want you to proceed further and do your DD also.
That was a postdoc I'm obviously.
Because I've done it and then I was asked by my guys, to do delete and I have done it. So that is how, you promote such things so that an awareness is created. And the girls, they just come up with the cause of it, because they are also women. They need to be projected. Their problems and issues are the major issues, So, very nice. It was a bold attempt, you did it well and you presented it. Okay. So, again, another